Today, we are going to talk about the introduction to the Caribbean marine mammal community. My name is Gabriela Hernández Mora, and I'm Chief of the Veterinary Microbiology Unit at the National Service of Animal Health in Costa Rica. The topics that we are going to talk today include marine mammal community in the wider Caribbean, threats to marine mammals in the region, and conservation of these marine mammals. As part of the introduction, we can say that the diversity of marine mammals in the Caribbean region is wide, including 32 marine mammal species that include 7 species of baleen whales, 24 species of toothed whales, and 1 sirenian. There are 3 endemic species. The first and more recent described is the Gulf of Mexico rice whale, then the West Indian manatee, and the Guiana dolphin Sotaria guianensis. 6 species are classified in the global UCNN red list of threatened species, including the 4 baleen whales, a sperm whale, and the West Indian manatee. 3 species are considered threatened by some Caribbean countries, including the rice whale, the humpback whale, and the Guiana dolphin. Why these species are significant in the region? Well, it has ecological value as top predators. They have cultural value since they are emblematic species, and of course, economic value. Whale watching activities is really important. And now we're going to talk about the threats to marine mammal in the wider Caribbean region. That include the fishery interaction, pollution, whale watching, captivity, acoustic disturbance, vessel strikes, and climate change. We're going to start with fisheries interaction. Most countries in the wider Caribbean region lack of expertise, resources, or technology to monitor or manage the bycatch. At least 16 species of marine mammals have been documented as bycatch in artisanal and commercial fishing gears, including long lines, gill nets, trawls, beach seines, and traps. Because there is no baseline data is being collected or targeted population, the impact of these hunts on local or regional marine mammals population is unknown. Some examples of these bycatch and entanglements in the region include French Guiana from 2014 to 2020, 26 Guiana dolphins killed from entanglement in the fisher gears were recorded by the stranding networks, representing the 60% of the strandings. In Jamaica, the common bottlenose dolphin, manatees, and spotted dolphins have been documented in gillnet fisheries. In Venezuela, the Guiana dolphin and common bottlenose dolphin incidentally captured by gillnets were estimated to be 140 to 180 individuals per year, and 3 to 5 manatees per year are reported in Lake Maracaibo. Sperm whales, 20 or more sperm whales entanglements may have occurred in the Eastern Caribbean in 2015 alone. And now we're going to talk about the hunting in the wider Caribbean region. At least 3 countries of the region have high levels of hunting, including Santa Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Venezuela. However, opportunistic hunting or consumption of bycaught animals of some small cetaceans continues to occur throughout the region. In the wider Caribbean region, only St. Vincent currently conducts whaling. Presently, the whalers of Vikia Island carry out their own historical cultural activity under the International Whaling Commission, with the quota of 4 whales per year since 2013. Small cetaceans are also hunted for their meat and blubber exclusively out of the leeward village of Baruali. While short-fin pilot whales were originally the primary target, other dolphin species now represent the predominant take. Catch data from 1949 to 2017 identifies the average annual take of 142 pilot whales and 210 other dolphins out of Baruali. As a conclusion, we don't know the impact of these fishery interactions. Bycatch is the most significant threat for those species that most frequently interact with fisheries. There is an increased and positive cooperation of fishery organizations to reduce bycatch, but this needs to be enforced. Marine mammals references and data are missing from regional fisheries reports and action plans. A comprehensive regional bycatch assessment and analysis will inform targeted bycatch reduction measures and marine spatial planning. And now, let's talk of pollution. Sargassum is a brown algae or seaweed that forms large floating mats, often refers to a golden tide. This is a problem since 2011, since regular influxes is a cause of increasing concern. It has impact on fisheries, waterways, shorelines and turrets, and wildlife, and this requires better understanding. Large mass mortality of the West Indian manatee and the bottlenose dolphin have been caused by toxic algal outbreaks in Florida over several decades. There have been no toxic tides reported in the insular Caribbean. However, small restricted bays in the southern Caribbean may be vulnerable to this problem, although it is not reported on a regional level. The impact of these algal blooms in marine mammals include inhalation or ingestion of food web transfer, especially if there are neurotoxic toxins in this food. Other sources of pollution for marine mammals in the region include the maritime transport. The volume of maritime transport in the region constitutes an important source of pollution. The impact includes ballast water, sewage, grey water, solid waste, oil discharges, and air emissions. About the chemical exposure, as we can see here in the map, there is oil exploitations, gas exploitations, and in pink, oil and gas exploitations. 18% of the global crude oil production is in the Caribbean. More than 150 offshore oil rigs in the wider Caribbean are present, 100 oil refineries, and 50 tanker terminals. About 250 major and minor oil spills occur each year in the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico. The region has endured 3 of the 10 largest oil spills in history, among which the Deepwater Horizon rig explosion in 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico happened here. About heavy metals, St. Vincent described high levels of mercury and selenium in pilot whales, killer whales, and rhesus dolphin, and other small cetaceans that are caught and consumed on the island, and especially in Baruali. Due to their position at the top of the food chain, toothed cetaceans tend to accumulate higher contaminant loads. This toxicant exposure can cause endocrine dysfunction and immunotoxicity, also reproductive and growth impairment and poor health status. About the plastic and abandoned fishing gear, we know that 14 Caribbean countries have banned plastic bags and styrofoam. Abandoned, lost, or discarded fishing gear, we know little about the type, amount, and sources in the Caribbean. Ingestion of anthropogenic debris have been documented in 2 stranded big whales, specimens for the Dutch Caribbean. The impact is mostly unknown, especially microplastic in human health. Mortality by ingestion, mortality by entanglement, and little information is available on contamination of the biota in the wider Caribbean region. Basic wastewater disposal continues to challenge many Caribbean territories. The impact of wastewater in marine mammals is caused by transport of pathogens, transport of chemicals, transport of nutrients and contaminants, transport of solids, and also can cause coral bleaching and disease and mortality of coral, fish, and shellfish. In conclusion, considerable efforts in the region regarding various land-based and marine-based pollutants are made. For example, action plans and initiatives to address such pollution under the Cartagena Convention and its protocols on oil spills and land-based source of marine pollution. However, no continuous monitoring program to determine and mitigate impacts of pollution on marine mammals' health and their critical habitats and prey are made. And now, let's talk about whale watching. What is whale watching? It's a visit aboard a boat from the air of the ground or in the water in order to observe, interact with, or hear marine mammals. It is understood that this activity has a lucrative and commercial aspect. The activities include land-based, vessel-based sites and listening tours, swim-with experience, and utilizing vessels ranging from small zodiacs to cruise ships. A well-managed activity represents for marine mammals an enhanced awareness on species conservation, support for data collection, and alternative to hunting. And for local communities, it represents a socioeconomic development. However, unmanaged activity represents for marine mammals a modified behavior, increase of stress, declined population health, and habitat displacement. And for local communities, that represent economic loss and conflicts between users. At least 21 countries and territories offer some form of marine mammal watching in the wider Caribbean region. The primary species under observation is the humpback whale, followed by the sperm whale, pantropical spotted dolphins, and the common bottlenose dolphin. Detailed information for the region is incomplete. Some examples as a source of income includes Dominica, which whale tourism expenditure generate approximately $3 million of US dollars in annual net profit. Guadeloupe, Martinique, and San Martin, the whale watch industry generates over 2 million of euros in 2015. The Dominican Republic has the largest whale watching industry in the Caribbean and was the first country in the region to develop guidelines. About the regulation in the region include overarching principles and best practices guidelines for marine mammal watching in the wider Caribbean region under the SPA protocol were adopted in October 2012. Whale watching regulation initiatives have been implemented in some areas, including the Marine Mammal Sanctuary in the Dominican Republic and the Gora Sanctuary in the French EEZ. However, currently, marine mammal watching legislation or voluntary guidelines have been developed in less than half of the SPA protocol countries. The main recommendations adopted in the region to help to minimize the impact of whale watching on wild populations are: swimming is prohibited, maximum numbers of vessels engaged watching activities, reduce boat speeds, minimum distance of approach, approach parallel or behind the animal, and no sudden change of directions. In conclusion, whale watching is poorly regulated in the wider Caribbean region, mainly because of a lack of resources and/or awareness. A toolkit for implementing marine mammal watching guidelines in the wider Caribbean region was drafted by SPA Species Working Group in 2021. More research and monitoring of whale watching long-term impacts is needed in the region. And now, let's talk about captivity. Several species of marine mammals are maintained in captivity in the wider Caribbean region. Most commonly species is the bottlenose dolphin. As of November 2020, there were 54 facilities in the insular Caribbean, not including U.S. facilities, holding at least 565 individual cetaceans as per data compiled by database. The activities include in both tanks and sea pens for public display and interactive programs that involve touching, feeding, and swimming with marine mammals. On this map, we can see the SPA countries hosting captive marine mammal facilities in blue, while in orange are those countries that do not have the marine mammal facilities. Most cetacean capture methods are invasive, stressful, and can potentially be lethal. They can also fracture populations that are traumatized after the chase and handling of predators, and who may selectively take individuals from the population. There are very limited data on dolphin population assessed in the wider Caribbean region, hence the impact of live capture remains unknown. The level of ongoing capture or more recent exports is uncertain. About the regulation in the wider Caribbean region of the captivity, not all the countries appear to possess regulations on the acquisition, care, and maintenance of marine mammals in captivity. Not establishing tracking mechanisms to follow the status of live captures and trade of animals once they are captured is available. To date, only one SPA party, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, has presented an exemption to the protocol for capture, exports, or imports of marine mammals for education or research purposes. In conclusion, a significant number of marine mammals exist in captive facilities within the wider Caribbean region, and proposals for establishment of new ones and operations involving dolphins in captivity continue to occur. The development, adoption, and monitoring of the application of regulations and/or guidelines governing the acquisition, care, and maintenance of marine mammals in captivity, irrespective of the type of facility, need to be enhanced. And now, let's talk about acoustic disturbance. Marine traffic is one of the main causes of acoustic disturbance in the region. Shipping is one of the main identified anthropogenic impact drivers, with high concentration of shipping lanes throughout the Caribbean island. Geophysical seismic surveys from oil and gas exploration and scientific studies are also present. Military training exercise and dredging and coastal constructions are also present. Marine mammals and especially cetaceans are particularly sensitive to sound. Depending on the sound frequency and intensity and of the distance of the animals from the acoustic source, the impact of marine mammals can range from hearing to auditory loss, as you can see here in this diagram. Cetacean mass stranding events have been associated with military operations across the globe. Some examples of the impact of acoustic disturbance in the region include the stranding events and behavioral response of cetaceans to anthropogenic sources of underwater noise, including seismic surveys, active sonar, vessel traffic, presence of tour boats have been reported. Seismic surveys continue to occur with increasing oil and gas exploration, for example, in November 2014 in the coastal waters around Bonaire and the Bahamas in 2020. Andros Island within the Bahamas is used for naval exercise involving the use of mid-frequency active sonars, which have been associated with big whale mass stranding events in the Bahamas and elsewhere. About the monitoring and regulation in the region, the anthropogenic underwater noise sources, including noise associated with sonars and maritime coastal traffic, are not monitored in the region and long-term impacts on marine mammal populations are not assessed. Some initiatives to map the overlap between marine mammal distribution and shipping traffic, such as the Life Web project, were performed, but not initiative to limit shipping noise impact is available. Several countries and oil companies have voluntarily adopted mitigation measures during the past surveys, such as soft starts and the use of experienced and/or certified marine mammal observers. In conclusions, we can tell that monitoring of seismic surveys and marine traffic in the wider Caribbean region is needed. More research on these threats is needed within the region to understand the real impact on the wild population of cetaceans. Regional guidelines are urgently needed in order to minimize acoustic disturbance to marine mammals from seismic survey operations. And now let's talk about vessel strikes. Globally, collisions with motorized vessels have been reported for almost 50 species of cetaceans and 2 species of sirenians. This is now considered a major source of mortality for many species. The semi-enclosed Caribbean Sea is ranked as having one of the most intense maritime traffic in the world. We can see here in the map the shipping network in the Caribbean Sea. In black, the crude oil route. In gray, the oil products route. In red, the shipping road. And in light gray, cruise ship road. So we can see all these together in the same area. There are around 10 reports of vessel strikes from the region listed in the IWC Ship Strike database from 1961 to present. This may reflect underreporting rather than the absence of occurrence. Vessel strike is a major threat to several manatees populations, such as in Belize or in the southeastern United States. Injury from collisions has also been observed on small cetaceans, and here we can see an example of a fin whale tail amputated in the Mediterranean. And what about mitigation in the wider Caribbean region? The French AGOA Sanctuary is currently deploying a tool that allows ships to avoid collisions with large marine mammals. It calls RIPSET. It's real-time plotting of cetaceans. In Florida, some slow speed zones have been set up for manatees. In conclusion, we can tell that a substantial shipping traffic is present throughout the wider Caribbean region. Data are lacking on species distribution. Collisions are underreported. It is difficult to assess whether ship strikes are truly a regional problem beyond localized and species-specific data. Few mitigation measures are implemented so far. And now let's talk about climate change. Climate change is expected to exacerbate existing threats to marine mammals through habitat loss, disease, pollution, and interaction with human activities. In this diagram, it shows what will happen in the next coming years. The precipitation will increase, as well as marine heat waves, the sea surface temperature will increase, and the global air temperature will increase. However, the sea ice will decrease, the salinity will increase or decrease depending on the area, the sea levels will increase. This will affect the prey and abundance and distribution, allow site availability. That will have the consequence of host density in some areas of feeding, host range shift, will increase the host exposure to pathogens, will increase the contact with other host species, will increase the contact with terrestrial pathogens reservoirs, and all of these will decrease the immune function due to stress. Also, the terrestrial pathogens pollution and runoff will increase. That will increase the zoonotic pathogens and harmful pollutants dispersed into the waterways. That will increase the pathogen survival and distribution, and also will increase the pathogen transmission potential. All these will induce mass mortality events related to infectious diseases. What are the expected key changes in the region with climate change? That will include increasing air and sea surface temperatures, an increase in sea level and ocean acidification, an increase in the frequency and intensity of the storms and hurricanes, and greater overall unpredictability in weather. What are the expected impacts of marine mammal of the climate change in the region? The threat and consequences posed by climate change for small island developing states and the Caribbean are forecasted to be significant. For example, increased thermal stress, more frequent cases of toxic algal blooms, loss of habitat, coral reef, mangroves, and seagrass for prey species. The species that may be affected include coastal tropical cetaceans and the West Indian manatee. In conclusion, in the wider Caribbean region, while many countries in the region are working to reduce the carbon footprints and have committed to comply with lower greenhouse gas emission targets, specific considerations for marine mammals protection are generally absent from planning strategies. In addition, long-term marine mammals data sets are lacking to support and contribute to ongoing research on modeling and prediction for scenario development, mitigation, and adaptation measures in the wider Caribbean region. More research is needed to better understand the impact of these threats within the region. What about the conservation of marine mammals in the wider Caribbean region? For this topic, we are going to talk about the SPA protocol, the national regulations, and research programs. The SPA protocol is a regional agreement for the protection and sustainable use of a coastal and marine biodiversity in the wider Caribbean region. The program supports countries to implement their national obligations under the protocol. It is an effort between the United Nations Environment Program, the Caribbean Environment Program, and the SPORAC. The Cartagena Convention for the Protection and Development of the Marine Environment of the wider Caribbean region is currently ratified by 26 countries. It is supported by 3 technical agreements or protocols on oil spill, land-based sources of marine pollution, and specially protected areas and wildlife, or SPAW. Each protocol served by 1 or 2 regional activity centers, or RAC, which support contracting parties in meeting their commitments. The SPAW Regional Activity Center, the SPAW RAC, is supporting parties collecting and disseminating information and data, developing and monitoring regional projects and networks, facilitating the listing of species and areas, and organizing capacity building workshops. The SPA protocol is dedicated to the conservation of the Caribbean biodiversity. It is currently ratified by 18 Caribbean countries of the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico, from the U.S. in the north to French Guiana in the south. Under the terms of the protocol, the contracting parties must, in accordance with their own legislation, take all measures to protect, conserve, and sustainably manage the areas and animal or plants threatened species listed in the annex of the protocol. 282 species plus 2 coral families are protected under the SPA, among which all cetaceans and sirenians. As described in the previous slide, in the Annex 2 is a description that the parties shall adopt all the appropriate measures to prohibit taking, possession, killing, commercial trade, and disturbance of these species, their eggs, parts, or products. A review version of the 2008 SPA Marine Mammal Action Plan was prepared by the SPA Species Expert Group in 2023. It was submitted to the SPA STAC and COP in 2023. It contains the 8 threats considered, including fisher bycatch, direct hunts and captivity, habitat degradation, pollution and marine mammal health, whale watching and associated activities, acoustic disturbance, vessel strikes, and climate change. It also includes action, assessment, mitigation, capacity building that the governments and organizations from the wider Caribbean region should take to improve marine mammal conservation in a 5-year time frame. It also includes available resources and expertise in the Caribbean region and beyond. And now let's talk about the national regulations. In this map, we can see again in dark gray those countries or territories that have ratified the SPA protocol. In blue, we have those countries or territories that have legislation specifically dedicated to marine mammals, while in orange are those that do not. In this map, we can see those countries or territories where national legislation forbids the hunt of marine mammals in blue, while in orange are those countries that don't have this legislation. In this map, we can see those countries or territories where national legislation forbids the take of marine mammals in blue, while in orange are those countries that don't have this legislation. And on this map, we can see the SPA countries where national legislation forbids the sales of products from marine mammals in blue, while in orange are those countries that do not prohibit the sale. And in this map, we can see the SPA countries with Marine Protected Area Management Plan established to protect the marine mammals in blue, and in orange, those countries that don't have it. And now let's talk about the research programs dedicated to marine mammals in the wider Caribbean region. Information of the distribution, abundance, and ecology of marine mammals in the wider Caribbean region is scarce. Population level assessment at the regional and local level are severely lacking. Focused local and regional and local research efforts and initiatives are being launched to address data gaps. Some examples of local and research initiatives includes in 2021 the Goa Sanctuary that made boat surveys in French Antilles EEZs. The long-term Haiti Ocean Project enhanced knowledge of marine mammal community via the establishment of a network of observers in the local fishing communities. In 2022, the Caribbean Cetacean Society made bold campaigns to study pilot wealth distribution and movement between the Goa Sanctuary and Santa Lucia. The long-term Belize Manatee Conservation Program of the Clearwater Marine Aquarium Research Institute made tagging, tracking, drone and aerial surveys, water quality, and habitat studies. Since 2022, the Florida International University and the Fisher Division of St. Vincent and Grenadines have collaborated to systematically monitor small cetacean captures and collect biological samples in the village of Baruali. The stranding networks have been established in at least half of the Caribbean countries to monitor marine mammals stranding, collect data on a cause of death, and collect biological samples to enhance knowledge on species. Another example of a regional project is the Caribbean. This project is a cooperation co-founded by the European Union and led by the AGOA Sanctuary and SPARAC. Its purpose is strengthening the marine mammal conservation in the wider Caribbean region through enhanced cooperation, and it worked between 2018 to 2022. The main outputs of CARIMAN includes network development, including teamwork platform, website and workshops, assessment of 2008 SPA Marine Mammal Action Plan, knowledge enhance, hydrophone network and boat-based campaigns, capacity building, field trainings and mocks, and awareness raising and communication, species fact sheets, 2D and 3D illustrations, educational tools. More information are available in this link. And now let's talk about CAMAC. This project will work between 2023 and 2027. This is a cooperation project co-founded by the European Union. It was built upon CARIMAN outputs and SPA country recommendations. It is led by AGOA Sanctuary and SPARAC. The aim is to strengthen the knowledge, regional capacity, and collaboration to provide practical recommendations and tools to reduce the negative impacts resulting from the interactions between human activities and the marine megafauna in the Caribbean region. The scope of CAMAC includes, as you can see in the map, the Lesser Antilles and the Guianas. It has 4 work packages, including package number 1, which assess the interaction with fisheries, package number 2, strengthen the stranding networks, package number 3, raise awareness, and package number 4, enhance knowledge on species distribution and abundance. Another example of regional project is LifeWeb. This project was developed between 2010 and 2014, aimed to assess the countries develop and apply cross-sectoral ecosystem approach to management of human threats to marine mammals. This initiative was funded by the government of Spain under the UNEP Spain Partnership for the LifeWeb Initiative. The outputs include mapping of critical marine mammal habitats and regional scale migration routes together with the socioeconomic information of human activities. Another example is the Caribbean White Orca project. This project collects and analyzes opportunistic data on large delphinids to enhance knowledge on species presence and distribution in the wider Caribbean region. So far, the focus has been made on killer whale, minke whale, and false killer whale, and more to come. Another examples of regional projects include the online platforms for data sharing. These platforms are currently being utilized in the region for facilitating and availability and sharing of data. That includes Flugbook, OBSERVATION, and observation.org. And here are the references that we use to make this presentation. Thank you for your attention.